when the filmmaker has sort of cared about these things, we just think of it as a kind of luxury and so on. And sometimes if he cares too much about it, you think of it as perhaps diminishing the kind of political sort of effectivity of a film. But I think in the light of the discussion we've been having, I liked especially some of the sort of detailed way in which you drew out the political implications of what would be described broadly as the aesthetics of a film. So it's rather important, and I think we need to see more films like that. They're not often enough made, and it's not as if they're any less political because the filmmaker has thought a great deal about the aesthetics, and the form of the film.
It's not becoming just one set of films and then you finish with that topic, quote unquote, and then another set of films. The connections are sort of coming across and through these discussions, and even internally they're there for many of us to sense. Even if we can't articulate them right away, I think it's, yeah, that has been the idea. So I'm glad that seems to be working for you. And can I ask you to pose with the mic again, because we need visual documentation, which I'd forgotten about.
Well, I can just extend a little bit. The question about whether he could have slit his throat and so on. I think the film should be allowed its own sort of validity, because I felt that, in fact, in the light of the very discussion we've had, that it actually sort of presses itself upon you. Why isn't he doing it? And it makes you think that much more about the realistic possibility that could happen, and to ask yourself why it hasn't happened, and therefore what else needs to be said or can be said.
I would also like to thank you for really a good selection. And I like this point that sometimes what you see might be so obvious, but what you think, and if a film manages to make you think a different thought or a critical thought, I think it serves a greater purpose than actually showing it out there. Because then there's so many more people who are actually filling in the spaces with new thoughts and critical thoughts, and that makes the difference.
Welcome to the afternoon session of the second day of Our Lives to Live, Seeking a Just World. We are going to have, first we're going to have these 4 films, I think. We're starting with 3 shots from Odisha, made by Surya Shankar Dash. Then we have a film called Don't Cut My Head Off, for which we have one of the co-directors here, Pradip Saha. And we also have Shukla Sen, a well-known activist who's very engaged with the issues that these films foreground. He'll also be there in the discussion. The last film of today, the longer documentary, is Radiation Stories Part 3, Kudankulam, which is obviously about the people's movement against the Kudankulam reactor being built where it is, and all the host of issues involved. Very unfortunately, Amudan, the director of that film, who was all set to come, like the guy in the morning, Abhilash Vijayan, he also had booked his ticket. He was all set to come. He was in fact really wanting to be here all 3 days to see the films, and he had to cancel due to some reasons which were out of his control. But we do have these various films, and we have 3 people with whom we'll have a conversation after that. So we are starting now with Dhinki from Odisha. And then there's one called Shot Dead for Development, and there's one called, somebody can help me, what's it called? Displacement Colony, yeah. They're all very interestingly made, very exciting, very different in the cinematic devices they've used, 3 shots. So we'll start now.
सबसे बड़ी रिहायशी परियोजना
I think in these films of Surya Shankar Das, unfortunately Surya Shankar Das is not here, and some words I would like to share with you. is that Odisha is a classic experiments of what development should not be. In last film that we saw about Kashipur, which was unfortunately cut in between, I had made a film called Development at Gunpoint, where 3 Adivasis were killed. And the protester struggle went on for quite some time, and struggle was suppressed in major way, but struggle is still going on anyway. So the point is that the resources, natural resources which are there, iron ore, bauxite, all these things and all, you find in the Adivasi belts. Adivasis are actually very rich people, more richer than us. They get much better water, they drink much better water, eat much better clean food, better than us, breathe much better air, live in much better houses in those areas. I've seen it, I've been there, I've lived there. Houses are small and less consumeristic. In Kashipur, it was a kind of self-reliant economy, more or less self-reliant economy. There was the place where 3 Adivasis were killed. There were only 2 small shops, some beedies and some stuff like that, oil, something like that. Apart from oil and clothes and salt and all that, few things, they can grow everything else, and they were self-reliant. And that is a kind of model of development which has been destroyed. You have what the people don't really speak about in these areas is that Bapli Mali Hill, they are gods for the Adivasis. When I went to Narmada in the 88, 89, I interviewed with people to make a film called Development at Valley Refuses Die. That time I asked the Adivasis, why are you fighting? They said, our gods are getting submerged. The most passionate reason for their struggle was that the gods are getting submerged, not that the land are getting submerged, not that the forests are getting destroyed, their resource base, or land is gone, agricultural land is gone, all this kind of thing. But the gods are getting submerged. That's the most emotional thing for them. But unfortunately, many of our activists, middle-class activists, cannot understand the relevance of this actually. In Kashipur also, nobody talks about Bapli Mali Hill, what it means to people. The middle-class activists cannot understand it. It is a kind of an alternative, different, diverse spiritual world which is getting destroyed, a worldview which is getting destroyed. Because of this, there's a worldview, how to deal with the environment, how to deal with each other, how to deal with the earth, how to deal with man and woman relationship, how to deal with adults and children, how to deal with the future generations and the past generations. All these things as a continuum. All this is getting destroyed, So I think that is that worldview, destruction of the worldview is most important in the debate on development. And Kashipur is a very important lesson. POSCO is also coming now, that Odisha as such, So if the film is ready, otherwise I will go on and on. If the film is ready, it's okay. But I can, is it ready?
Increasingly chaotic, and the number of delegates, observers, NGOs and journalists that want to attend the conference is much larger than expected. The number of people wishing to have access to the
Sir.